34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15. 14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on politics. And wow, after last week's show, I bet you're like, woo, I wonder if it could be that wild and crazy tonight. Well, you never know. We have Katherine Callahan on, and she's, let's put it this way, she's not afraid to answer anybody's questions, and she'll tell you what she thinks. So I think it'll be a little less craziness on our show. But I do want to tell you, I have some very interesting news. I did an interview with Cassie today. We talked for about an hour, and we're going to do a special edition. We're going to do a special edition on Thursday at 9 p.m. It's going to be live. It's recorded. We're gonna do that special, so you can tune in, and I think you're going to be interestingly, pleasantly surprised at this conversation we have. So I got a little preview for it, and we're still putting all of it together, but I think you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. So here, I'll play the intro for that, and then we'll get on to our show for this week. So there you go. I know you can't wait to see that interview. It's about 20 minutes long. It's not tremendously long, but I think you'll enjoy it. So let's get to the business at hand tonight. So I'll tell you, the Burning the Bridges in Madison County 3.0 is another gift that just keeps on giving with some, I don't know, maybe call it shady politics or maybe some ethical issues or whatever. But man, I always thought Anderson in that area was just sort of calm, a little sleepy little town on the way to Muncie, but nope, it's not. So we got some interesting stuff for you tonight about some of the folks up there and how they're doing stuff. And then we have David Shelton in for Tiffany, and we have David is the Knox County clerk, and he has some insight on how some of this stuff works and have a little bit of the same issues that Madison County's having up there with their property taxes. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to play Mark Small Talk. Then we're going to get Katherine on here, and then we're going to get to it. So here you go, Mark Small and Small Talk.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk. Think about a governmental system in which politicians argue about how to set things up in government so they can do business more efficiently. Only a small percentage of people are allowed to kind of have any input. And then once everything is done, those political officials are able to buy land for pennies on the dollar in the values of their time. That's a description of what the framers of our Constitution did. 1787, they debated what should go into a Constitution. And as they did so, the windows and doors of what we call Independence Hall, what they call the State House in Philadelphia, were boarded up. They had an agreement not to talk about what they were doing because they wanted to be able to draft things and put things together with the least hassle from the public possible. In other words, they wanted an ignorant public. Once the Constitution was done and it was ratified by the states, There was a really big movement to get land. Washington bought a lot of land. Jefferson did too. Everybody made money on that. White, male, deist, Protestant, as long as there weren't any Jews or Muslims or not very many Catholics. I think there were only 2 Catholics who were framers. They could make money. But what do we have today? We have some transparency, sometimes not transparency. But the people who make the rules get the profits in a lot of instances. That's not what we should value, and we should learn from what we had at the beginning of this country. That people that drafted the Constitution said we should question one another and look at people and ask what their motives are. Put checks and balances on things. Because the way the Constitution was written, people could make money, but they wanted to make sure it was within the rules, and they couldn't talk about it. Mark Small talk.
So there you go. It Mark sort of nailed it on the head about how sometimes it's transparent on that. So Katherine, I want to, I know we got some new viewers tonight, so I want to remind them that we are streaming live on Facebook, on our channel, LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn now, YouTube, and Twitter or X or whatever you call it. And you can comment in the live chat and we can see it. Even if you're on Twitter, you can comment on there. So if you're online and you have a question or you want to comment, or sometimes the people even get into it with each other on the online there. Last week we had almost 700 comments on our show. So let's see if we can't beat that tonight, Katherine. So Katherine, how are you doing tonight? And tell our viewers a little bit about yourself that maybe don't know about you.
So I'm Katherine Callahan. I got into Madison County politics in 2020 when at the time I had a physician in my office who we decided to run as Madison County coroner. However, had no idea how corrupt this county was. Often told when we were getting into this, do we know what we're getting into? Well, clearly no. And so we were also told this is worse than Little Chicago. And they weren't kidding. This has been the most interesting. I've never seen people behave in such a manner. And what's more even amazing is that they're never wrong. I mean, I think my first moment was when Darlene Likens gifted her son over $150,000 on a frivolous lawsuit. He sued the county about redistricting because, of course, it was going to take away votes for them. They want to win, so they want to make sure they're controlling all this. So Darlene runs for election as commissioner so she can get in there and vote to make sure her son doesn't have to pay this frivolous lawsuit and attorney fees back, even though a judge in Hamilton County said he had to pay it all back. And so when I saw that take place, and then I don't even know why no one caught this, but the Indiana code they used to cite why she was able to vote on her son's financial burden to the county was the incorrect criminal code. It's a criminal code for people under the age of 18. Why nobody caught that, I don't understand. And the reason why I know this is because this just happened in LaPel when I had the Paddock family, the Robertson family, and all these elected and appointed officials being assigned to different seats as they were bringing a junkyard into LaPel to put by our wellheads. And well, they got called on this behavior. And that's when the real Indiana code that should have been used even with Darlene Likens should have been done. So I'm not sure how commissioners can override judges' orders for their children to pay back our county. But then we fast forward a few months after that, and what do? Our county council? They raise our local income taxes. Well, perhaps if your son paid his debt, like you guys, they're the richest farmers in the county. They've bought up more land than anybody, all through what this gentleman was just saying previously. Now, I will tell you, I want to give a big shout out to the Christopher Bilbrey show, because generally I'm on with Christopher. He's on 5 nights a week. And so I had to not be with him tonight to come and talk to you about this. And I apologize. So I know there's a lot of viewers here tonight who are with me. I mean, not on Christopher Bilbrey's show, but if anybody wants to, he's a great one too to follow this. And he just did a big one on the House Bill 1338 where they're trying to silence the public. So that whole House bill is another thing. But here in Madison County, they've been silencing the public for years.
Yep, and that's why we're here tonight, and we appreciate that. So does he do his show every night?
He does his show Sunday through Thursday. And then a lot of times he'll do a show on Friday and Saturday for Madison County because he's mainly focused up there in Delaware County. But he's got a lot of coverage down here on Madison County on all the corruption. He's actually started to come to some of the council meetings and call them out. So it's kind of been very interesting. But he does a great show too. I would encourage people. He's on YouTube just like and Facebook like you are and everything. So
I'll have to catch his show. That's cool. So we want to get to it here. So I'm going to go ahead and start bringing. I'm going to bring David Sheldon on. He's our guest panelist tonight. Tiffany's been gracious enough to step aside for him to come on. Let's bring him on. I'm going to do a little bit different thing here. So you get to go there. Katherine, you'll come down with me. But David Sheldon, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where's all the buttons? You usually have the buttons behind you tonight.
I didn't feel like going in the office today, so I'm doing it from home. So hopefully my internet will work. My 5 kids won't make too much noise. I don't have a cat jumping in front of the camera here, so we'll just kind of see how it goes from home tonight.
We leave that up to Brad. That's his job. So David, you're on the show tonight because you're the clerk down in Knox County, and you've had a similar story to tell about some things. Go ahead and share with our viewers, if you would, about how some of these inside deals work sometimes that maybe nobody sees, or political vendettas. What kind of skullduggery goes on down there in Knox County?
Well, I've seen the political vendettas. We had a lady run for assessor, completely unqualified, other than she had a lot of money to throw at a primary. She spent about $40,000 on a primary, and at the time she wasn't even a level 1 assessor. Level 1, level 2 is open book stuff. She was able to win by throwing that much money in there, and then she proceeded to seek political retribution against the people who were supportive of the former assessor. And all the while she was lowering her own assessments down, down, down. I saw my personal assessments in my home go up over $50,000 with no comparables in the area, no sales. Same time hers were going down the equal amount there.
So I take it you weren't on her side then. Is that what I'm hearing here?
I was not on her side. Finally had my fill. I appealed my 21 payable 22 taxes, showed up at the local PETA-BOA meeting. And whenever your assessments raise over 5% without a countywide reassessment, the burden of proof's on the assessor. A lot of people don't know that. So I went to the PETA-BOA meeting. I sat down. I said, okay, where's your comparables? And they said, well, you didn't ask us to get comparables. I said, no, the burden of proof's on you. But then they said, well, you didn't ask for them. Well, again, the burden of proof's on you. And basically we sat around and looked at each other for about 10 minutes before they adjourned the meeting and upheld their ruling. But I did appeal it to the state tax board. And, 6-9 months later, I had my day in court, so to speak. And actually, I won the state level appeal, and it lowered my assessment back down to the previous ones. Now, unfortunately for me, the next year, 22 payable 23, I didn't think I was going to get anywhere with the state appeal or anything, so I didn't appeal. So next year, I'm looking at another massive hike. I mean, I'm probably looking at $60,000 to $70,000 hike for 23.
We all know you live in a giant castle down there in Knox County, looking over the Wabash. Since 2020, my property taxes have gone up over 1,000%. So, I mean, wow. It's not just you, and we appeal the taxes, and the same thing. They come back. Well, we don't have any assessments on your art center. We don't have anything on that. It's you can't fight City Hall, and I think that's what we find.
The reason why your property taxes keep going up is because your elected officials are not paying their tax bill.
Okay,
that could be very possible here in Madison County.
Hold that thought. I'm going to bring on our other victims. I mean, people here. So let's get the people in the. Brad, there's no way you're in the middle. Sorry, you don't even get there. So, okay, so let's see. Right up. This is wrong too. Lucy gets to be in the middle. There you go. You're left, Brad. You're right, David. Lucy's the baby bear porridge just right. So, Katherine, you're a guest, so you get down here by me. Let me see if I can't do. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Yeah, I like that. All right. Hey, Lucy, Brad, Welcome. I know you were patiently waiting back there, probably formulating questions of sorts. So I'll start with you, Lucy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Just happy to be here. Kind of like weird that parts of my head are being. I'm not in my normal location. Undisclosed secret location.
Yeah, it's StreamYard, Dreamland, and all that. We were talking before the show about my interview with Cassie, and Cassie's a fan. She says, "I like Lucy. She's strong in her position. She knows what she's doing." I said, "Well, that's why we like Lucy too." So, Brad, I see you're sporting a Bud Light tonight. I noticed that.
Yes.
You probably already drank it. You drank it already, didn't you?
Well, the first one, yeah. That's
It's like, this show will make you drink.
Longer show, So
Yeah.
You'll need a lot more after we're done talking.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
sure.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that Katherine seems to be a thorn in their side up in Madison County, and this is our third show about Madison County, and this is Anderson, and what other places are there? Alexandria. Brad, you live in the cesspool of politics up there.
Yeah, it's surprising. I for one am shocked that any shenanigans would be going on with elected officials.
What? How sarcastic? How much Bud Light have you drank?
Not enough yet.
Are you in
that's
the
the thing, like,
Twilight
I'm from Northwest Indiana too, so like,
What
Hammond
part?
and Griffith and Calumet Township and
Listen, up there, Lake County, they've got nothing on Madison County.
Well, I feel like I'm like the link between the two, and like that's not necessarily a good thing right now, I guess. But
so I did all my training up. I went to Valparaiso, but I did most of my training in Gary Northlake. And let me tell you, over there, that is like easy peasy compared to what's going on over here.
Oh, great! All right, so I'm in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Brad, we'll let you start with some questions here. If you got a question, this is your area here, so
well, yeah,
all new to you, isn't it?
I feel like, how do you feel like the media in Anderson has been taking this, or even Elwood, like with the call leader, and Alexandria, we have the Times Tribune. How has like the local media been covering it? Because I feel like I know that there's a push on Facebook, but not it feels like it's meeting its match in mainstream or print media. So how do you address that?
So let me just share some examples of how exciting it is to be Katherine Callahan in Madison County. So when Dr. Abbott won the coroner's office, and that has been a whole mess within itself, I became the easy target. So I was the chief deputy, and about 2 months ago, it was brought to my attention that after I had left the coroner's office, a private state boards of account was brought in to audit me in the coroner's office and said that I had violated all of these things. Come to find out, the state board of account never appeared on the state board website until people called and inquired about it. It suddenly appears on the state board website, and that was probably several days after it was published in the paper. Ken Delavestine brings me this packet of information from the State Board of Accounts. It says that I never filed a conflict of interest. It says that I did work for the county because I own my own medical practice. Well, here's a news flash, and they're going to hear on this for the first time, the entire county. That article that was published, and they said that I did $3,798 with the county. I billed them in November of 20. I was not employed by the county at that time. Because we don't meet in December and elected officials don't feel like any bills go through, I was paid in January of 21 when I became a coroner in the county. In 2021, I did file a conflict of interest, and I have it timestamped with the recorder. That's how well our journalists in Madison County cover our information. If you are part of the good old boys club, they're going to write to smear you any way they can. So anybody who'd like to see my 1099, it exactly matches what I billed in 2020. However, because our elected officials they want to be paid for December, don't get me wrong, but they didn't pay me till January of 2021. And it makes me look like I've done negligence. No, you've done the negligence by not paying the person who provided service. And here's even a bigger news flash. Guess what services I provided for the county? Those were nasal swabs for COVID because the health department couldn't keep them in stock, and they called me to see if I could do their swabs so I could keep the county running. And this is what you're accusing me of being a bad guy? I would think I would be very friendly with a company who took it upon herself to make sure, and she had all the supplies in to help care for the county. So that's how well they cover the news in Madison County. So all the Herald Bulletin, we've gone round and round. I got nothing. And here's the thing. If the journalist would have read the report, it says on the State Board of Accounts report, this has not been verified for accuracy. But did you put that in the paper? Hell no, you just smeared my name from here to kingdom come.
That was powerful and uncomfortable.
Now, is that paper owned by Gannett's now? Because a lot of these small papers, it's still locally owned then.
It's owned by CHNI. I've even complained to CHNI.
Now, who is that? Who is CNHI?
They're from down south. I think they're from Arkansas. They're
so it isn't a local. It's
a massive thing. I mean, and there's lots of, it goes on. Here's another great example. So people were nominating me for Person of the Year because I fought this LKQ project with this junkyard just recently in LaPel, save the water for the town and surrounding communities. So the people will send in the letter of me recommending. The editor-in-chief, Scott Underwood, sends back and says, I'm sorry you've missed the deadline. The deadline's not for another couple days. He's saying the deadline was 3 weeks ago. So they screenshotted his article that says, hey, look here, it's not due till this date. We haven't missed the deadline. He goes, well, we know we've gotten a lot of nominations for Katherine, but we already have our person. That is our local newspaper.
Yeah, that's
so any award you see. Yeah, any award you see in the paper, it's all picked by whoever.
And so regarding the property taxes, then, like, have they started talking about that at all? And
so let's bring Katherine. Let's go ahead and bring everybody in on why the show is burning the bridges. About what has happened. What has been discovered here?
So Auditor Rick Gardner, I don't know. I do a lot of the Facebook Lives for Madison County. I go to the county council meetings, and I get a lot of those on. I don't know if people have caught the last one recently. Now, Rick Gardner is our current auditor. He is terming out, so he'll be stepping down. There's been if you watch these are some pretty heated council meetings. Well, Councilwoman Bethany Keller has asked him to keep better records of the meetings, that the meetings don't truly reflect what's going on in the meetings. And this has been going on for months. So finally, Ben Gale, our county council president, jumps to Auditor Rick Gardner's defense and says, we've talked to Luke Britt with the public access coordinator, and really all he has to keep is if people vote yes or people vote no. He doesn't really have to keep those details. And so then people started watching my Facebook Lives. They started to go get the clips off of what the county's supposed to put on, and they're noticing they're cutting out certain segments. So they're comparing it to mine. So they're doing a lot of that. So Rick Gardner recently turned in the wrong budget for Madison County, even though he was called on it and he was violating the open door law. We stayed in that meeting, started at 6 p.m. That was in October. We started at 6 p.m. That meeting did not end until 1 a.m. in the morning. So they fix the whole budget. They go through everything, and he still turns in the wrong budget until Bethany Keller catches that he's turned in. And he's like, well, it's not my fault. You guys had so many line changes. I don't know how you expect me to keep up. Wait a minute here. Ben Gale just said you're supposed to be keeping track of those numbers. Now you're telling me you can't keep track of your numbers. And as a matter of fact, as we were going through that whole meeting until 1 a.m., Todd Kolb, who's the chief deputy coroner, who is currently running to be the auditor, was keeping all those line changes. And yet he's saying they couldn't keep up. I mean, it is a 3-ring circus in these meetings with the auditors. And so we're here because Rick Gardner became a county councilman in 2010. That's when he was first elected. In 2011, he owed over $60,000 in property taxes. His rationale why he couldn't pay those $60,000 in property taxes is because he had renters who owed him almost 90,000. Well, I guess you shouldn't be doing business if you can't cover what you're doing. So in that, he was called upon. What's going on with this? He states that he never took a paycheck from the county, that his wages were garnished the whole time. But on Gateway, it shows that he was getting, it shows that he was paid. He was making roughly $13,000. But what's more interesting, and maybe David can talk more to this, or Lucy, I don't know. But every year, the county treasurer receives a list of delinquent public officials. So public employees that are delinquent. They have 30 days to get those taxes in line. And if they don't, they'll get 25% taken and garnished from their paychecks in order to pay those taxes. And this was reported in the Herald Bulletin, but nobody's followed up. Well, community members keep asking. Actually, Kelly Gaskell, who was commissioner for a while, they kept asking, where are these records? Why don't you show us the receipts? He has never, ever been able to provide anybody in this county with these receipts. And here we are fast forwarding to 2024. On top of this, 2 years ago, Justin Gardner, his son, was frauding the homestead taxes down in Ingalls. And that all came to light when they decided to put him in a council. So now you got your son doing it. But the paper never reports on this. It's the most incredible thing you have ever seen in your life. The paper will only give you what they think you need to know. And what I want to tell all viewers tonight, because people ask me all the time, why do you keep speaking out about this? Why is it so important? The most dangerous voter is an uninformed voter. And they've done an incredible job hiding all of this. But I think 2024 is going to be the time of truth for this county. And anybody who votes for an incumbent in this county should stop voting. There is not one incumbent who should go back into their seat in 2024. They all need to go.
Do they all have challengers? Because I know that deadline's coming up on February.
Well, it gets even better, Brad. Anthony Emery, who's an Indiana state trooper, he's a county councilman. He's done the same thing as Rick.
Oh, really?
Yes, but
so it's the property taxes seem to be a tripping stone for these folks.
It is, but all of them have gotten into buying all these properties on a quick sale. They're able to watch the sheriff's sales. They get themselves in so deep. Gardner said he took all of his retirement from Marsh and put it into all these properties. And then, we had a recession back in the early 2000s, and that's what caused all these problems. Now, let me tell you something. None of this and any of the Herald Bulletin posts were ever Gardner's fault. It's everybody else's fault. We either had a recession, people didn't pay their rent, and this is the man who's in charge of our money in the county. And then you've got Anthony Emery in that same position, and he's in charge of our money. And I'm just shaking my head with all of these people. The most incredible thing to watch with all these elected officials is how they will jump in front of each other and protect one another. They have no problem doing that. They'll hide paperwork. They'll make things go up missing. Somebody needs to tell me what happened to these property taxes.
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to send Lucy up there. Lucy, I see you up there just like going, throw the bums out. So, Lucy, what are you hearing here? I know it doesn't surprise you.
A couple of things struck me. First of all, taxation is theft. There shouldn't be any property taxes anyway.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. You're expecting that. But, Catherine, I'm wondering, were these people even smart enough to hide their fraud? Did they at least take title in name of trusts or corporations so that they got to hide their fraud? Or are they so blatant about it because they didn't care or they were too stupid? Either way, it's unacceptable.
Listen to how guilty they are. This is the best part. Towards the end of December, I was doing some research. I was looking, and we were all looking. All Rick Gardner's property taxes were up. And then suddenly he wins this wonderful award that he's like auditor of the Indiana state, blah, 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 right? Well, it must have been at that meeting when he won that award that somebody must have informed him that he needs to get his shit together with his taxes, and that there's an Indiana code that will cover him, that he can remove his taxes from anybody seeing. And it applies to elected officials, it applies to judges, and it applies to police officers. So they can have this all removed so nobody can see them. Well, suddenly, about 2 weeks ago, when he filed for commissioner, all his taxes and properties are gone. Now, he's been in his seat since 2010. This man's just now learning of it 14 years later. Hello. I mean, this is the whole thing. Anything that they can use to their advantage. Our prosecutor doesn't even take his down. I mean, hello.
Why does that exist though?
Why does that exist? Well, it does exist so that people can't be harassed and people can't,
burn your house down.
For judges
We can find out where people live now. We got Google.
I know. I mean,
it's a sort of an archaic law that's been on the books for a while. I'm going to get to David Shelton here because what do you hear here, David? I mean,
mouth is wide open.
Yeah,
the code you guys are talking about.
How do you? I want to ask David a question. How do you remedy these things? I mean, you hear all these. Who's in charge? Is this the attorney? Who do we send after these people? Do we send Andy Griffith after him? I mean, what's our course of action here?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of different things here. I don't know the players. I don't have a program, so I don't know what's going on up there. I can talk to you about things I actually do know. So like the relevant code that we're discussing is Indiana Code 36-1-8.5. That's restricted addresses related to property tax records. There are approximately 10 different classes of people that can qualify for this. The list was expanded last year by act of the State House, a judge, current law enforcement, address confidentially program participant, which means if you're a domestic violence victim, something like that, you can have your address and stuff redacted. Surviving spouse of a person described in that section. Section number 4, public official, is probably what the most relevant is to this conversation. And the definition in the Indiana Code is a little bit different. You see public official and you automatically think, well, anybody who's elected. Now, I read the code a little different. So section 4.5 describes a public official as an individual who holds or formerly held office at any time during the preceding 4 years in the executive or legislative branch of the state or federal government or a political subdivision of the state or federal government. So my interpretation of that is a county councilman, a county commissioner, they're not eligible for that. That's my interpretation. I'm not an attorney. I'm just giving you my interpretation. I know my former assessor redacted her own property stuff. Mine's out there for the whole world to see.
What's even more amazing, Brad, I don't know if you own property here in Madison County, but Rick Gardner's house, it didn't have any increase in his property taxes.
Darn it. I wish I knew that.
Well, I mean, he can't pay what he's got already, so increasing it really is a moot point because we're still not going to have the bill paid.
Well, I mean, I don't know if did his neighbors, was it I don't know.
Well, let me help you with this, Brad.
I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. This is a great question. You see, the Likens, their property taxes went down. Let's see, who else is on? Jerry Alexander? His property taxes went down.
They all probably live in the same cul-de-sac, though.
Oh, no. But we had plenty of people when we posted it on Facebook told us that they were their neighbors and all their property taxes increased.
Wow. I'm telling you, between you and David, Catherine, I don't even want to see what your assessment's going to be next time. It's going to probably
I own 5 properties. So this will be really good in Madison County. I mean, and that's the whole thing is somebody did look up my my buildings that I own. I own 2 buildings in LaPel, and they said that mine actually went down. Well, I just put in over $650,000 in renovations in the building. I would hope I'd get some break with that.
That you'll be punished for that. Your property taxes will go up. I promise you.
I'm sure. And so, it is what it is. And anybody can look at my property taxes. They're always paid on time. I mean, so I don't really, it is, what are you going to do? But if you go back and look, the elected officials, theirs have either stayed the same or they're going down. And so some have even, I mean, like the Lycans, their property taxes were like 10 years ago were like 80,000. Then suddenly there was this huge dive in their property taxes and it went to 20,000. And it's on numerous properties that they have. And they've never, ever gotten back to where they were originally at like 10 years ago. They're still low.
So again, I'm going to ask the question: what the heck can we do about this? I mean, do we got to get Guido to come break some kneecaps? I mean, what do we do? Come on, Sheldon, you're the elected guy here.
So this is out of my backyard. I'm the clerk elections. I try to become the most best informed citizen I can. One of the things that Dr. Catherine mentioned earlier that I'm unaware of is this garnishment. If you're an elected official and you don't pay your property taxes, I just know if I don't pay my property taxes for 3 billion cycles a year and a half, my property can go up for a tax sale. I don't know of any other thing that goes on top of that if you're an elected official or not.
Now,
I'm talking about what remedy do we have about these people that are just sort of belligerently breaking the law or
David,
fudging the law?
Let me help you. Let me let everybody know a little bit the players. Brad, let me let you know a few of the players. So Rick Gardner is our auditor. His wife, Connie Gardner, is the chief deputy in the assessor's office. And his son, I think until recently, was working in the treasurer's office. So we've got quite a few different players going on here. So I'm not sure, how all this is assessed and how
somebody's got to be over the top of these people to keep them accountable. Who is that? Who can it be?
Yeah.
We got to get Superman, Batman, or Robin, or who?
Yeah. So when you see me go in council meetings to speak, before a word even comes out of my mouth, they're already hitting the gavel so hard that the pad on the gavel flies up.
It's bouncing.
I'm like, I haven't even spoken yet. So they're loving this House Bill 1338 that's coming along. That's telling people that they can't speak in public places anymore. There is no accountability, really, in Madison County. We're trying to swing that pendulum. Jody North has done a good job. We've got 2 new council, Bethany Keller, but they still don't hold the majority of the vote. So things continue to keep getting passed. Things keep getting overlooked. And this is the remarkable thing, Brad, at the November meeting when Councilwoman Jody Nork and Bethany Keller were really holding Rick Gardner's feet to the fire. Rick got up to the podium and he pointed his fingers and he says, I've been in your position. I've sat in your seats. I have done my time there. And we have never had this kind of questioning or problems with the budget until you were elected to the council. Oh, really?
You know what? I think we need to send Kathy Jackson up there and she will straighten this out. I'm telling you right now. You're gonna.
I mean, that's excellent public decorum of officials.
Hey, he never got gavelled once.
Well, I'm just laughing because that's what HB 1338 is all about, right? Is like decorum in official meetings and stuff.
The public.
I know exactly. That's what I mean. Like, where's that line? Then.
Yeah. You should have seen him go after McHale in that same meeting. I mean, it got so incredibly heated and so incredible. I mean, and it was him raising his voice, yelling at everybody. Everybody else stayed calm. I mean, but he just kept going after everybody. I mean, and that's the thing with Rick. It's never his fault. You can't question him. And now he's running for county commissioner. I mean, come on. I mean, how can he get reelected? I mean, anything's possible, but this is craziness at its best.
So basically, they have this 1338 bill that pretty much tells you to behave in the audience, but the person that's on is like, it's more of a protection for things. Now, is this specifically for your group or is this statewide?
This is a state. Have you seen it? This is
state. It's a state bill.
And so that Hamilton County East or Hamilton East County Library could be part owner of this.
To 79 at the State House 2 days ago. Check out the Chris Wilbur show. He did a whole thing. He has the live feed. Yeah, he has the live feed on it and everything. Let me ask you guys something. You guys probably have gone to council meetings. You've attended those things. Have you ever seen your president of your council gavel an elected official who's questioning somebody at the podium? and then
I
give
have.
the person at the podium the floor? Have you seen that? Oh, it totally happened in Madison County last month. Bethany Keller is totally holding them accountable, asking questions about this health first. Ben Gill gets so mad, he starts gabbling Bethany to be quiet so the health administrator can continue to speak on what she believes why we should do that. Well, they had already closed the comments. They were in discussion with the council. The council had the floor. That's how crazy it is up here in Madison County. I mean, this is stuff you just wouldn't even think
See, I
of.
want to go watch now. That's
Well,
you know.
you can find all of them on my Facebook feed if you want. And I will tell you, the November meeting is the most entertaining meeting. You won't even be able to put it starts about the 20-minute mark, 15-minute mark. You will not be able to put the video down. It is so, and I tell people, then after they argue for about an hour, they kind of do some normal business, and then it heats back up. So I'm like, don't tune out because it'll start right back up. And so you'll see people in their finest decorum. I mean, I've just never seen anything quite like it. But that's that's why what happened to me in the coroner's office, I continue to want a morgue. Continue to question where money was going, and that's what they do. They'll just here's what's amazing. So we kept coming in and asking, we need money for the coroner's office. We don't have enough money for the coroner's office, yada, yada, yada. Abbott ends up resigning because they won't give him any money. It's too much of an uphill battle. The next month, they grant $100,000 in like 30 seconds. Then I run for caucus. They won't caucus me, and they caucus in the person that they want. In that following month, they grant like another $150,000 to the coroner's office. Okay, so for 2 years, been fighting you for money for supplies, and you give me the best that we put people in a beer cooler is where we put the deceased bodies. That's what they've got in the pole barn. But now all of a sudden you've got money to come off of. Here's what's even more interesting. Auditor Rick Gardner gets up at the beginning of every meeting and tells us how healthy our rainy day fund is. Oh, we got $5 million, we got $20 million, we got all this money on our rainy day fund. But he goes, and remember, back when I was on the council, we were in the negative. We didn't know how we were going to make it through. Well, first of all, everybody needs to pay attention. You got money because we getting all this CARES Act, COVID grant, ARPA. I mean, that's why we have money. He didn't do some wonderful thing that made us money.
Are you saying a politician's taking credit for monies that they may not have actually been responsible for?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's telling us how rich we are. Okay. But if you go back to 2019, we're barely making ends meet. You know what I'm saying? And then he's calling out everybody. Well, people have to pay their property taxes. You know what? Maybe we wouldn't be in such bad shape if you were paying your property taxes. Why don't you lead by example? So, I mean, this is what the craziness of all of this is. So there's a video of Rick Gardner on there when he was running for mayor. And he's like, well, if you look around in the city, you'll see every street corner, there's trash. You'll see the panhandlers. Oh, you go down the interstate and how awful it looks when you come into Madison County. And, the mayor has to do a better job of putting, really, Rick? You live in the city. That's where your property taxes are. And you're not even paying them. And you're worried about how we look. Well, we can't look right because you don't pay your taxes. I mean,
well, it's like, get a garbage bag then. Like, help out.
Right? I mean, the things that
David, do these people exist like in other parts of the state? Like because did you say that this actually happened at one of your meetings too?
David?
I've seen some hostilities among elected officials up there. The public meetings, I don't know if there's a misconception here. The public has a right to attend the meetings. They don't have a right to participate unless they've actually been placed on the agenda. Sometimes, like our board's passed a resolution where if you're a member of the public, like to discuss something that was on the agenda, they'll allow you a few minutes, but they try their hardest not to let the meetings get hijacked and devolve into name calling and other issues.
It's difficult sometimes with adults.
I'm sorry, what?
It's surprisingly difficult sometimes with adults.
Oh, it is. And then you factor in the fact that you have people going to these meetings that are usually upset about something. They don't know how to conduct themselves in a public meeting. They can either be really intimidated just really, really mad and don't care what comes out of their mouth. I just got a message. John's having some internet problems, so we may be on our own till midnight, 1 o'clock on this show today.
Well, let me
So
just go ahead
okay.
and take over right now, and then
Okay, go ahead.
it's that's the libertarian thing to do. So a libertarian thing to do would be to take over the meeting, and then just kill it and never bother anybody again.
Yeah.
I'm like so flummoxed when I hear all of these stories. Hey, John's back, so
Hey,
I
John.
don't have to do this anymore. Take back
That's
over, John.
okay.
This is too much
I thought
organization for me.
my whole internet crashed, and so I get on my phone and I see you guys just carrying on without me. You didn't even have a funeral or anything. You didn't even say kind words.
I
So,
thought you were
oh man,
body.
I was freaking out. I had to go. I don't know how it's kept going. It's a miracle. So I thought that Rick Gardner had sabotaged us. That's what I really thought happened. So anyway, carry on. I'll just catch up.
Well,
I think we're done now.
Okay,
Yeah, we about wrapped it up. Lucy
Yeah.
said we can go.
See you next week.
Yeah, I took over. I just like John, I told him I'm a libertarian, so our goal is to take over the world and leave you alone.
I'm going to be gone
I was gonna
again.
shut the
Bye. Okay.
Well, no, but like we were talking about kind of like decorum, and oh god, he actually did leave. No,
So
but
let's
like,
go to conspiracy
how do
theory,
we,
my
how do
favorite
we
part.
reach that balance though? Because like, people need to be able to reach elected officials. I think one of the reasons that there is so much hostility is because people don't feel like they're being listened to, like one way or the other about whatever topic. The solution to that is not limiting accessibility to the elected official to discuss it in public. Like, I feel like that is what the public, or that's what the politicians signed up for. They are expected to do that.
And that's a great comment. They have chosen to do this. They volunteered for this. And that's the great thing about you, Brad. I agree with you. I mean, if you don't like it, then why did you volunteer to run for this? I mean, I don't understand any of that. And what they do here in Madison County is you'll put in record requests. They'll send it back to you and say it's not detailed enough. You'll send it back. Yeah, we don't know if that's detailed enough. And they just keep playing this game back and forth and back and forth. And that's just, and then.
But that's it. It wears the common public down. I mean, like we have lives that we want to live and get on with, and we can't spend. Who was the guy that kept fighting on the Geist Reservoir? He kept fighting the property guys.
Yeah,
he's hilarious. But like, we don't all have the resources for that.
Yeah,
or the time for that. Like it. A lot of the times they just bank on us giving up.
And I will tell you, this LKQ project in LaPel, I'm not rich. I am a doctor-prepared nurse practitioner who's been fortunate enough to be able to make my practice. I've been there 10 years, able to survive through COVID. And it took, I had to sue the town in order to be heard because we had family members voting on each other's items to bring in this junkyard. And so, I mean, that's the thing. There was no transparency. They asked the attorney, the town attorney, if it was okay if they voted on each other's, knowing that the son was the vice president to this company that was going to build the $40 million building. He said, yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think that's a conflict of interest. So you don't have to disclose that you're related to your son's the vice president of this company. I mean.
Well, and there's a new asphalt.
David, you look
there's asphalt shingle plant. I think that's supposed to be coming into Anderson.
The malarkey.
And there was like at least I saw a couple of Facebook posts about wanting to or being worried about the pollution and stuff. And then I saw an article today that said that some city councilors, I think, were going to go visit the plant in Oklahoma to investigate or to at least inspect it to make sure. And I was like, at least I like that. They are doing their due diligence. Or at least,
no elected official or appointed official went out to LKQ to evaluate it. So I was lucky to have a family member who went out. Not only did they go look at the LKQ, who did not represent what they said, we also were able to find a place that they had vacated and all the supplies they left there, all the parts and how it looked. So in 20 years, if these people decided to vacate our town, that's how bad it would look potentially at our place, right?
Yeah, we
They're flying out to a place. They're expecting these people to come. You think they're not going to put all the bells and whistles on this and make sure they see the cream of the crop? Here's what's more important, and I'm going to put this out there. So any Madison County viewers, I hope you share this with Rob Sparks, because I really don't care at this point. Rob Sparks said we had a wellhead protection plan in this county. One does not exist, but he put it in the actual proposal when it was given to the planning and BZA. There's not one. We've searched high and low for one. There is not one. Rob Sparks, this is what he did to the Malarkey people, and I'm surprised the Malarkey people really haven't brought this to light yet. Rob Sparks said he didn't have to notify people that this place was coming in, but he sent out a letter because he only had to go 300 feet. Okay. Did anybody pay attention on this letter? It was written on December 24th. December 24th, really? That was a Sunday. The meeting was January 4th. Do you think it got to the mail on the 25th? Maybe it got in the mail on the 26th or the 27th. Then it's going to go out in the mail. Well, what do we have? We have January 1 in the middle of that, right? So now these people get this letter. Look at the letter. Does the letter tell you it's about a roofing company that, oh, that's right, that's owned by Wholesome? And what's Wholesome? They're involved with Lafarge. They're all owned together. And what's Lafarge? They've been one of the biggest contributors to ISIS. Has anybody talked about this?
Like the mecca of terrorism now, all of a sudden.
And Rob Sparks gets up there and professes how he's for Madison County. Well, hey, Brad, I hate to say this to you, but why doesn't he take that up to Alexandria? And you guys can put it up there by you, because where he's wanting to put it over here is not a good site for it. Plus, we have all these places here from GM that they could go into those sites. Why not there, right? Why isn't anybody bringing up these ideas?
I think Dollar General took that over. They bought the GM plant and turned it into the biggest Dollar General.
Well, they could have. I mean,
$2 General.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on in Madison County. If the people don't come out, and I'm going to tell you what,
and we aren't. Like that's the problem, I think.
What surprised me the most is I went to watch this whole thing. It was like watching LKQ all over again. I had several people call me, so I went out and I looked, right? So I go to this meeting, and this room is packed. Well, I mean, there must have been hundreds. There was over 100 people in there, and then there was people out in the overflow, right? Packed. So at one point, the president of the council looks out to the people and says, how many are here to oppose this tonight? 95% of those people raise their hands. Do you know that they still had 2 readings on that plant coming, and it passed 7-2 both times? They only need 1 more reading. Now, if all your constituents in your room are telling you no, I don't know that I would be voting for this company, because now you don't represent the people, you represent this company.
Well, but those are only the people that showed up. I mean, people can email
and they're still working on it.
I'm just kidding, because like that is such a cop out from I'm like, no, if you show up, that you're actually involved like that.
Yeah.
So are you noticing more people getting involved, or is it just people just say, I can't, my vote doesn't count?
So here's what's funny. So Rob Sparks gets up in this council meeting, right? And he says, these people have started a Facebook page, and these people have started a petition. And look, in 48 hours, look at all these people that are here. Well, see, communication is key. You can get people to the table. He said, but I sent out those letters and nobody showed up. Well, nothing in the letter talks about this company that they're bringing that they want to talk about. It doesn't talk about any of that stuff. It's a very misleading letter. And the fact is this is the holidays. How many people are sitting around saying, oh, I need to go to this meeting? They got families in, they got all this hustle and bustle, they got mail coming in, Christmas cards, and this is how you send it out to the people? I mean, there's a problem with this shell game, and it's not just in the county, it's everywhere. And it's not just in Madison County, it's all over America.
Yeah, I would say that. And, this is one of the things that we talk about. I ask you about your paper. Is it a local paper? I mean, think about it. Our local news, they don't cover local issues. Everybody's worried about what Trump's going to do next, or what Biden's going to fall over on, and they're not worried about what's going on outside their front window. And, that's what we're trying to do with this show. We're trying to honor everybody's opinion, and we're trying to cover things that are affecting your lives daily. And this is a problem. And I hope that, we've had Bethany Keller on, we've had Sean Smith on, we've had you on twice now. And you'd think at some point people would wake up. Now we're getting, our message is getting out there a little bit better. And Catherine, you have done tremendous work on this. You're to the point now where people call you to go investigate this. And we're sort of that way too. So I'll have this show, and I've already had people that saw you coming on that were talking about the lichens and this, and they screwed me over on this deal and that. And it's just interesting. We go back to that thing. Who holds these people accountable? And I think what I'm hearing here is the voters. Brad, it's your job to get these voters out there. You need to get some good Democrats to run up there. And Catherine, you need to get some people to run up there.
Whoa, John. Okay. All right.
What?
I'm liking what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got it. I mean, application is the problem. I mean, it sounds great, but you got to apply it. So
and that's the thing. And that's kind of what happened in Lapel with me. When I tried to challenge that and called them on it, I had to have that moment that says it's time to either put up or shut up. And so it cost me close to $40,000 to fight that LKQ project. But I will tell you, there is faith. We won 5-0.
That's good. Now I want to ask this question, Catherine. You seem to be pretty. You're like the who's that gal that played Aaron Brockovich? You're the Aaron Brockovich of Madison County. You need to be running for something. What? Come on, get in the game here. What's up?
I've heard people have called me Katie Brockovich and everything else. So it's $1 million question. I'm kind of enjoying the fact that I'm able to expose a lot of this. But I'm getting a lot of pressure. What am I going to run for? What am I going to do? Am I going to come back and run for coroner? Since we all know how Russ treated me when I tried to caucus in for coroner. So there's a lot of questions on what I'm going to do.
Well, here's an idea. Here's an idea right there from Cheryl Dodd McKinney. She says that's what you need to do right there.
Oh, for city county council. Well, and again, this show really was about our property taxes and and how everybody needs to pay attention to these elected officials who are running for office. And the fact that the keepers of the money are not holding our own auditor accountable. Our own auditor's taxes do not get raised, but everybody else's is getting raised. Elected officials, their property taxes are going down. This is craziness. And I will also tell you this, when you ran a check on Gardner, the property taxes on his main house were always paid. It's all the rental properties that weren't. So if you ask me, that tells you he doesn't really care about the people, but he's going to make sure he covers himself. I mean, look at this, people. I mean, you can't go up and get any records from the county without getting 15,000 hoops in it. I mean, now at Lapel, we were asking, people haven't gotten records. They've asked since we've got $90,000 in parks money missing in the town of Lapel. It's been missing for 5 years. We get councilman who's now the president of the council says he did his own audit and he's accounted for all that money.
I do that too. I do my own audit every day. I'm like, I ain't got no money.
Right? This is the weirdest thing possible, right? Well, now because so many people were asking for records requests, they put another hoop in it that they can ask for, but then they're going to send it to the county attorney or the council attorney, and then he'll decide whether or not you can have those records. I don't know, David, maybe you can help me understand what is the public allowed to have? Are you on mute?
No, he's not on mute. I can't hear him though.
Can't hear you.
There you. No, can't hear you, David. Let me put you back on. I got you in the wrong place. There we go. Can we hear you? No go. I mean, the internet hates me tonight. It just hates me. That's what I'm finding here. So we'll just have to speculate on what David thinks because I can't hear him.
Can I ask Catherine a question though? How do you feel like? Oh, well, dang.
Yeah, you can ask. I'm just playing with you.
Oh, I thought that was David. No. How do you feel? So I feel like regardless of like which party you're at or you're in, there is kind of like that wave of like people who want to be involved in everything. So how do you stop people from still voting straight Republican ticket or straight Democrat ticket and actually like getting, you know, accustomed to like voting a candidate?
So, you know, I know that we've had a lot of people flip back and forth on the straight ticket, the primary in the primary, because like I said initially, the most dangerous voter is an uninformed voter. And so knocking on these doors, I don't know how many doors we knocked on. And I will tell you, you know, knocking on these doors, informing the people, I will tell you, I must be getting 20 or 30 friend requests on my Facebook daily of people who are starting to catch on, who are starting to follow. People are starting to share my videos of all the meetings that I'm going to at the county level. So it's starting to catch on. But if we don't point out what's going on, and I'll send you some timestamps, David, on the November meeting that will it'll intrigue you so much you'll just want to watch the whole thing. That's how we do it. We have to share. People ask me, what can we do to help you? You have to share the pages. You have to share the information. That's the only way. You have to answer questions. I mean, I want challenging questions. I want healthy, difficult discussions. I want to know that you want to hold me accountable.
How do you respond then to like Republican candidates that don't debate their opponents?
I wouldn't vote for them. I mean, the pudding's right there. If people are unwilling,
ideally, yes. I mean, but I feel like there's still like a stranglehold on people voting for their party. Like, for instance, like when I ran for state rep, I got 3,000 votes. I raised $0. I did not do any advertising whatsoever. So I was baffled that I got, you know, that many votes. So how do you attest for people getting out of that comfort zone almost? Like, how do you force that kick?
This is kind of interesting. So in 2020, Scott Nork ran for judge and Troy Abbott ran for coroner. And so then Jody and I were kind of their campaign managers. We were running against a husband and wife team up in Elwood. Now that's a huge Democrat area. It's the Dennehays had held that seat for decades. We went up and knocked on door after door after door after door. And I think Scott ended up taking 7 or 8 of the 11 precincts up there, which was unheard of. And Abbott ended up taking like 8 or 9 of the precincts out of 11. You got to get out there. You got to meet the people. You got to bang on the doors and you got to inform the voters. People just don't know. Now, Lee Walls is a great one. He's ran a couple times. Lee Walls has ran as a Republican, but people continue to vote for the establishment. What's Lee say here? You have to get people to understand the importance of the primary. Most don't. There's your first step. And Lee's right. I mean, Lee should have been the surveyor in the 2020 election, but they voted for Shepherd, name recognition. You know, the good old boys club just keeps working the system. You know, we've got to find a way to shake the bushes and inform the voters.
Good.
You know?
I think that is good. Well, I think we could keep talking about this forever, but we need to save some for burning the bridges of Madison County 4.0. So we're going to go to the thing. And I tell you, the internet hates me tonight. It's thrown me off, and I'm just glad that the show goes on, and it just makes me feel how less important I really am. So I appreciate the humbleness I've suffered tonight. So I know Brad will be distraught for at least 10 to 20 seconds if I disappeared. So
yeah, it's like a magic trick.
It is like
Can David talk now?
What's that?
Can we hear David?
No, I don't think that David is just, somebody put in the comments he needs to put up papers like Cassie did last week and jump around, but I can't hear him. So what we'll probably do is we're going to go to conspiracy theory. David, if you could jump out and jump back in and see if that doesn't help, and then we'll have you on conspiracy theory if I can get you back on here. So everybody, let's hope to make it another 5 to 10 minutes without my internet exploding. So let's go ahead and get your tinfoil hats on. And Catherine, I don't know if you're running for anything, but you're in the conspiracy theory. So here you go.
Hey y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week.
Wow, we got look, Brad just disappeared. He probably had to go get another Bud Light because this show's been so stressful on me. He needs to drink one for me, I think. So let's see.
No.
Yeah,
I was just going to get my hat.
Okay, yeah, you went all out on this one, so to speak. So, Brad? Do you have a conspiracy?
Yeah, I actually do. Let me see. Okay.
Testing.
Right, so,
yes, we have David Shelton back in here. You're
Yeah.
already an elected official, so you don't have to have a conspiracy theory. But now that we have your voice back, you're a lot better guest. We can hear you.
Well, now, John, I do want to know the one question that I asked him. What is the public entitled to have for records?
Well, like I started to say, it's a lot of different things. I feel like anything that most everything should be available to you, unless it's matters of litigation, acquisition of real property, personnel records, disciplinary records. Everything else should be available. And you mentioned Luke Britt's name. That's a good avenue to go. If you don't get what you're asking for, send him an email and ask for an opinion.
Now, I do want to tell you, David, the First Amendment, the attorneys all take an oath and that they're going to uphold the Constitution. They all do. And do you know that Luke Britt is in favor of House Bill 1338? That violates his oath as an attorney because he is not upholding the Constitution. And as far as I'm concerned, anybody who votes for that House Bill 1338 who is an attorney should be disbarred because you did not follow your oath to uphold the Constitution. That is a First Amendment right that you are taking away from the people. And I'm going to say something. Kyle Pierce is a state rep. He did vote against this House Bill 1338. He was the only one in our area. Rory and Cherry voted in favor of it. So you need to watch that. Chris Bilbrey's got it narrowed down to about a 13-minute segment on his.
Did you say Rory voted for that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there you go, my friend. So, and again, who's the most dangerous voter? The one that's not informed. I got to help you out here. So anyways, that's the thing. And then they say, well, we can get them to you in a timely manner. What's a timely manner to you, David, to get records?
Well, it really depends on how far I have to dig for something. We're not required to compile data or create a report. You're only entitled to something that we already have in hand. No undue burden on the official to produce something. We can't produce something just to cater to a specific request or an overly broad request. But for the most part, we have to respond to a request in one or two different ways. If the request is made in person, I have to respond to the request within 3 days. If you send me an email requesting something, I have to respond by 7 days. That doesn't mean I have to give it to you, but like you were complaining earlier, a reasonable amount of time. Well, what's the definition of that? There is none.
Yeah.
So.
And they'll wait you out in Madison County.
Yeah. That's wow. I mean, we have covered some ground here tonight. I feel like I've actually walked to Anderson and back from Indianapolis with all that we've heard. And keep up the good fight. I mean, hopefully there'll be some more elections and people will get you'll get the government you deserve. People that actually care instead of people that are trying to do that. And it's been a very enlightening view into the Madison County thing here. So now we are to that portion of the program where everyone is suited, and my internet is holding on by tape and string right now. So, Brad, go ahead and tell me your conspiracy theory while I'm still here, because the show goes on if I go away. So that's what's important.
I'm so tired of Nintendo trying to indoctrinate the youth of America with its toys. Clearly, this is pro furry Mario. It's one of my son's toys. I just found it. How am I supposed to explain this to him? I can't understand that. And in this other video game, we have it at the library. It's Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And I think it's actually a conspiracy by the GOP, because in the game you can actually turn into an elephant. You can't turn into a donkey.
Who wants to be a donkey?
Well, but if you're going to represent one of the parties, you're going to have to represent the other. You can't just have can't turn it into an elephant. That's just going to turn all the kids into little conservatives. Like that's their way of brainwashing them into
subliminal way. But Lucy is libertarian. Isn't their thing a lion? That's what yours should be, a lion.
We're a porcupine. Leave us alone and we won't mess with you. But
I'm starting to see
some people
why
mistakenly think it's a hedgehog, because the hedgehog kind of looks like the porcupine on the side, but it's actually a porcupine.
And they eat at Sonic. I'm sure of it. That's probably what that is. So Lucy, that's a good segue into your conspiracy. And Brad,
I wish that I had some grand conspiracy tonight, but it's actually something that I'm going to repeat from somebody whose things that I never thought I would repeat before. So there's this comedian who's gotten super popular. His name is Matt Rife. I don't know if any of you have watched him. He's hilarious, especially for his crowd work. He's not bad looking either. So, he gets a lot of women followers. Yeah, he's pretty cute. And I'm saying that, with all due respect, as a woman that's been married for over 30 years and has 10 kids.
Is okay.
He is easy on the eyes. He's very engaging and he's got one of those personalities, but it's actually his conspiracy that I'm stealing tonight because I saw it. It was brilliant. It is this. You ever been on an airplane and they tell you things that are helpful, like, in the event of a crash or you lose pressure, mask comes down, put it on yourself first, right? That makes a lot of sense. But then they also tell you that if there's a crash, to lean over and hug your pillow like you're going to kiss your butt goodbye, right? What really happens in a crash if you do that? Your spine goes through your skull when you hit, right? So the conspiracy is they're telling you that to make sure that you die in a commercial airline crash because the litigation would be easier for them if you're dead instead of if you're alive. That's it.
I'll remember that next
all
time.
about
I'm
the money.
sitting straight up when we're going down. I'm not,
just go limp noodle. Don't do anything.
Yeah. Just be drunk. Go to first class and get yourself some good alcohol.
Get some sauce. So, well, that's pretty good conspiracy. It's probably true. I mean, I don't think you've had one that's not true so far. So, David, have you configured anything for a conspiracy?
I don't have any conspiracies. I'm just watching the political climate of everything. Candidate sign-up period ends here in a couple weeks. I have a open congressional seat here in the 8th District. Monitoring the John Russ case, a former guest on your show here. I'm planning on going up to the State House to witness that hearing in person, just because I have a morbid curiosity. But until that point, my motto for this election season is embrace the chaos.
Yeah. So, what's your prediction? While we got you here on the conspiracy theory, what's your prediction? I think they're gonna overturn the first decision, don't you?
I feel that way. I was surprised by the first decision. I feel like political parties, and Lucy will disagree with me, I think, on this. I feel like we should have a right to association. He was free to run as an independent, or, you invited him to run as a libertarian. I didn't agree with it, but that wasn't my call to make. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens on February 12th.
I think the sticky wicket is public funds going to the corporate, that type of thing. I think that's one of the little loopholes that they're trying, but that's going to be interesting. That's coming up. I believe the trial is February 12th. Is it still?
That's correct.
And then there'll be some time for a decision, but I can't think they're going to take a lot of time because they got to make a ballot for the primary. And
and state law only allows candidate challenges up until noon on February 16th. So if the court takes its time to make a decision, we're going to have just a few short hours to file candidate challenges on those who would not then be qualified to run for that office.
Wow. So does this affect PCs and state delegates as well? I mean,
I could have my Democrat chairwoman here in Knox County run for county council as a Republican, and there's not a thing I could do about it right now.
Wow. I mean, this has got some implications, and we'll have her run up in Madison County. It seems like she'll fit right in.
Brad, you better
the residency requirement's still there.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, we'll get that out of the way later. So don't worry.
So,
did you say, Katherine?
Most of Madison County, almost a good majority of Madison County Republicans who are elected in their position right now, were all Democrats at one time. Go back and look at their history. Almost all of them.
What are we doing? Like, why?
So you should go look and see. You'd be impressed.
I don't want to make myself upset.
Yeah. Like Rick Gardner says as an auditor, if somebody wants to buy an elephant and they have enough money in their bank account to do it, they can buy an elephant. It's not his job to police it. It's only his job to make sure they have enough in the account to be able to buy the items.
Now, you never hear anybody wanting to buy a donkey, do you?
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm pro that. Like, I'm pro Stampy. You know, Bart got an elephant in The Simpsons. So yeah, I'm all for.
But my conspiracy theory, I have several. My conspiracy theory is eventually I bet you Gardner's taxes show up back online. But my conspiracy theory is I had a strange feeling. I've watched the COVID pandemic. I watched everything that's happened. We are running crazy with flu and COVID in my office right now. People are coming up positive left and right. I think as we go into the primary, they might end up delaying the primary just a little bit because they're going to try to shut some things down again. The people are not going to have it. So what they're going to do is take it to social media and put glitches and things in our place so that we can't stay informed, is what my conspiracy theory is, that we're going to see. And until the people get informed and start calling these elected officials on their game playing, we're never going to get ahead. But I just have a feeling there's going to be some tampering. I mean, take a good look in Madison County. Our Republican chair, Russ Willis, he blocks people from his political website. He deletes any posts if you do not agree with him from his political website. I am not allowed on that website. I was banned from there from the get-go. Mikhail Vaughn, he recently was called on his behavior. He's a county councilman right now. He's banned people from his Facebook, and his personal Facebook has all this political stuff on there. Rick Gardner has deleted people on his Facebook and messages on his recently, as just a couple weeks ago. So we have an entire community here who believes that we can just silence people who don't agree with us. Elected officials don't want to have difficult discussions. And if Lee Walls is watching right now, I have a lot of respect for that man. And I'm going to tell you something. We had a pretty healthy, difficult discussion today between him, myself, and Shelley Boggs on the Republican for Madison County webpage. If you don't follow that, I would encourage you to do that. Through it all, we all stayed very clean. We had a healthy discussion. We came together. And we just agreed to disagree at the end. Nobody deleted. Nobody started hating each other. We just respectfully stated our viewpoints, and we all came together. And then Lee at the end kind of surmised everything and said, let's talk about the candidates who are running. That's how you're supposed to behave. I mean, he led by example today. He kept us on course, and I'm very glad to call that Mr. Walls is on this show tonight. So thank you. I want to put that out there. But that's my conspiracy theory, that we're going to see some toying with the election again. It worked in 2020, so why wouldn't they do it at another presidential election?
Well, that's a perfect segue into mine. And I don't know if you've heard about Disease X coming. And this is like, go get the bread and milk. This is like triple the damage that the other one is. It's so bad, they don't even have a name yet. The marketing's not catching up with the disease. So it's coming. And it'll make COVID look like picnic down there by the Alexandria Park, Brad. So you just get ready for it. You get
Beulah Park.
What's that?
Yeah.
Beulah?
Beulah. Yeah.
I've been to that park, I believe.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
JFK gave a speech there.
Yeah, it's and you have a nice little festival there too. It's like
it's the county fair. Yeah.
That's
what they call it. That's what you call it out there. I'm from the city. Don't worry about that. We have.
Oh, you should come up. It's a great time.
Yeah. Well, I've been up there. I did some peeps on the streets up there, I believe, a couple of years ago. So, all right. Well, does anybody have any last words before we shut this fiasco down? The internet seems to be working well for me now. So,
my final words to Madison County: do not vote for an incumbent. Vote for change. And the one thing I want to tell this county: stop voting for these people who want your vote but not your voice. Stop it. Lisa Rinker running for commissioner up in the north part of the county. Absolutely, you should be looking at her. We've got a good fight going on in District 2 with, we've just seen a new person come out, Marquez Higgins. We'll see what he has to offer. I've always supported Devin Norick. I've not been shy about that. Everybody's totally clear about that. And of course, if you vote for Rick Gardner, you need your brain examined. And then we have the county council going, Christy Grabowski, she's running right now. We'll wait and see what she has to put out for everybody. She looks like a great candidate for that. So we're going to see more people starting to come out. People want change in Madison County. You got to get change. You got to cut off the head of the snake. You got to cut off Republican Chair Russ Willis. So how do we do that? You got to run for precinct committee man and get involved. That's how you got to do it. You got to get rid of it. So those are the things. Get involved in your community, get informed, go do your meetings on Facebook Live and share with the community and show what's going on.
Yeah. Well, Katherine, we truly appreciate you skipping your other famous show to come on this less famous show. David Sheldon, as always, it was, the best part of the show is when your sound went out, but, you did a great job of,
Well, Christopher Bilbrey, he said he's going to be plugging your show tonight on Mouthwash because people ask. So he's going to be plugging your show. The two of you should come together. You got great shows. But if you haven't been informed on House Bill 1338, you really need to do that. Chris,
all right. Well, hey, send in my info. I'm game.
He's already got it. He's already got it. He's been watching some of your shows. So okay, Christopher has been brought up to speed. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're growing. Ever since we got Brad on the show here, it seems like we're really picking up the pace here. And
all right, man, I told you I want that raise.
I know it. He's going for some money. We're going for, you're going to get a nickel 59 raise. I promise someday. But keep in mind, Thursday I'm gonna fire out that live broadcast of my interview with Cassie today. You're going to want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to want to see it. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed this panel tonight. Other than my internet hating me, the show did go on. And probably the best part, David, would be when I was not on the show. Would you not agree with that? Maybe?
It was okay for a while.
It was okay. Yeah, all right. You guys carried on like it wasn't even nothing there. So, all right, everybody. Well, I'm going to play the ending here. And we'll see you next week. I think we have something. I don't know what it is. But we'll see you next week on Tuesday. Lucy, thanks for being on. Brad, thanks for being on. David, excellent. Katherine,
thanks for having me.
You're great. So we'll see you all next week, 9 o'clock. Over and out.
Yeah!